Hi, my name is Morten, and in this video we will be taking a look at the security foundation of Ucommerce and how you can maintain access for different users for the different parts of Ucommerce in the back office. When you log into your CMS, you will do that based on a user that has been created within the CMS. That goes for all three supported CMSs in Ucommerce: Umbraco, Sitecore, and Sitefinity. In Ucommerce, as such, there is no user concept where we can create or edit users, but we can reflect the permissions based on the user who's logged in within the CMS. All CMSs have the concept of users and user groups, and that's what we also reflect in Ucommerce. That means that your first job is to set up users within the CMS and figure out what kind of roles you will be using inside that. And then you can start to reflect the permissions in Ucommerce as well. Each of the CMSs that Ucommerce support has their own role system and own security system as well. As such, you need to see Ucommerce and the CMS's security systems as two separate things. But the important part here is that Ucommerce will reflect based on what has been created inside the CMS as well. But you will not be able to set permissions from the CMS within Ucommerce, and you will not be able to set Ucommerce permissions within the CMS. Alright, so that means that when you log in as a user, you need to first make sure that the user has access to the back office of Ucommerce. So in Umbraco, you will get a little note up here saying Ucommerce, and there's similar concepts in Sitecore and Sitefinity as well. Once you have set up your users to access Ucommerce, you can now start to filter what the users will be able to see and what they will be able to not see. And that goes for the entire back office of Ucommerce. The way that you do it is that you can go to settings and then you can go to security. And under security, you will see users and you will see groups. In the CMS, they might be called roles, but it's reflected right here in the groups what kind of user types you have available within the back office. And you can set permissions on two levels, either on the group level, or you can override and specifically say for each of the users what they have access for. So based on what you need, you can set up permissions for both types. When you access a user or a group, you will see the same set of permissions that you can edit. So there's no difference in that. So let's just try to take a look at my admin user, for example. My admin user is a special user type that you can create in the CMS, which can also be reflected in Ucommerce. So here you'll be able to see that this user has no permissions set at all, but he can still access the entire platform, and that's because he's a super user, and as such it will bypass all the roles and securities that has been set up in Ucommerce. For Ucommerce, we have a thing called a role, and we have a thing called a user group or a user. When you combine these two things, you will have what we call a permission. So these roles here will set a flag in the database and give permission to access certain areas of the platform. So let's try to go through the individual roles and types and explain what they mean individually. The first thing that you will be able to set up is whether or not a user has access to create and delete stores. This is the most basic role that you have in the platform: creating a store or deleting a store. And the reason for that is that almost all other roles will inherit from this, and you will be able to set up permissions based on each of your stores that you have available. This is great if you have a multi-channel solution where different store managers will be able to edit their parts of the store, and that goes for maintaining the catalog and maintaining your orders area as well, also for marketing. So once you have the ability to either create or delete stores, you can also start to assign roles for individual stores. And for each store, you'll be able to maintain the same amount of roles. So when you give access to a store, you will be able to also further give access to the individual catalogs that are created underneath the store. So for Ucommerce.dk, we have a single catalog called Ucommerce. And for avenueclothing.com, we have a catalog called Avenue Clothing Catalog. Based on this, you will also give the user the ability to create and delete catalogs underneath each store. So that means that your store will then have sub-roles, so to speak, that you will be able to edit for that particular store, and thus giving your users the ability to access and modify data underneath the store. Once you have created access for that, you will also be able to set up permissions for the individual catalogs, and that goes for creating, editing, and deleting products. Categories will have no certain roles, but that means that if you have access to a catalog, you will be able to maintain the category structure underneath this particular catalog. So you can create and you can delete and you can rearrange categories as you see fit if you have access for the catalog. But that does not mean that you can edit products, because for each product you'll be able to set up if they can create, edit, or delete those. So this is giving your users the ability to maybe view but not edit your products. Pricing is a little special because pricing is a global concept we have in the platform that are not necessarily tied to a store, which means that if you want to give your users access to certain price groups, so that is, for example, editing price in Danish crowns but not in euros, then you will have the ability to set that up globally in the platform. The reason for that is that your products can span across multiple stores. So it does not really make sense to have a price group assigned to one store but not to the other. Same goes for languages, which is a global concept or a global concern that are not necessarily tied to a store. So once you have access to a language, you can edit that language regardless of what store you're in. So those are global roles that you need to set up once, and they will be reflected on all your different stores. So let's try to take a look at the analytics and the marketing part. Analytics is the ability to extract information from your stores related to your sales. So that is turnover either by specific products, specific stores, and specific currencies. Analytics does not offer much in the platform, but we still have the ability to maintain security for that part of the web shop. For marketing, you will be able to assign roles to set up discounts based on whatever rule that you want to set up, but discounting is set per store and not per product, which means that if you have access to marketing, you can start to assign discounts to your products regardless of you being able to edit them or not. So marketing is a separate concept that are not necessarily tied to the individual products, but you will be able to discount on them even though that you will not have access for them. For purchase orders, you will be able to set up if they can change order status. So can I, as a store manager, change a purchase order into a new state, for example, into cancelled, so I'm refunding or cancelling an order, or to complete it, I'm now acquiring the actual authorized money, which indicates that my products are ready to ship. A different thing that you can set up for your orders is the ability to edit orders. So if you have the ability to edit an order, you will not be able to change order status, but you will be able to maintain different parts of the orders. So that could be assign a discount, add or remove products, change shipments, change billing address or shipping details, add or remove order lines, or adjust the quantities, and even change the price per unit on the individual order lines. So changing order status and edit orders are two different concerns, and we have specialized role for each of them. Of course, you need to also be able to see the purchase orders in the first place for your stores. For multi-channel and multi-store solutions, security is an essential part, as you will be able to maintain what users will be able to see, what orders, what products, what marketings, because you don't want store managers in your international store to see orders that are based on your stores that are selling only in your local country. So the security system here is a very powerful tool that allows you to set up different roles for different store managers. And that's how you can maintain security within Ucommerce. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.